My friend made this like really silly joke the other day that I've been laughing at basically every day since, and by the time this comes out, I probably still will be laughing at it. So I don't do consent, I do condollars. Like,
what does that even mean?
Like, because dollars are better than cents. So why have consent when you can be something better, condollars?
Yeah, the next time you're talking to a person in the club, be like, do I have your condollar with you? And that'll go down well.
Like, do I have your consent? No, you have my condollar. Hey everyone, welcome back to Chef Tyler's Croatian Kitchen. Today we'll be making crni risotto, or black risotto. Crni risotto is one of those dishes that is on every single menu at every single restaurant on the coast. If you come to Croatia and you just throw a brick, it will probably land on a plate of crni risotto, and you'll have one very upset customer. I think it's one of those things that people specifically come to Croatia for, to have the crni risotto. I have a friend, Sarah, who has a different friend whom I don't know, but they go on their own little like black risotto adventures down by Split, and every time they like meet up, these two guys, people go to a different restaurant to try their crni risotto. It's like their little thing. Side note, my friend Sarah runs a website called Expat in Croatia. Not sponsored, but if you want and help moving to Croatia, you can check them out. They are very, very helpful. Crni risotto is made with cuttlefish, or in Croatian, sipe, which is a cephalopod that looks like this. My friend says that they're very smart and that we shouldn't eat them, but I say they're tasty, so let's eat them anyway. Because it's a cephalopod, it has an ink sac, which is right here, and that's what we're going to use to color the risotto black. If you don't want to use the ink to turn the risotto black, you don't have to, in which case you'll just leave it white, and it will be just risotto with cuttlefish. But the whole point of it is to have the color black, so that's why we're going to be using the ink sac. The ink does have flavor to it, so it has more flavor of the cuttlefish. If you're using squid, it would have the squid flavor, and that's going to help round out the flavors of the whole dish. So you'll get the cuttlefish, the meat, plus the ink, and it just gives it a very, very unique taste. The point is, you should use the ink.
Yeah. What else are you using it for?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, actually, you can use it for cocktails. I looked up like how to make like black cocktails.
Oh, surprise, surprise! Tyler knows how to make a cocktail out of the ingredients he's got lying around. That's a shock.
So when you buy cuttlefish, make sure to ask your fishmonger to clean it for you, because cleaning this is a pain in the ass. Ask me how I know. She cleaned it most of the way, as in she took the ink sac out for me, which I think was the most important thing that she could have done, because I totally would have punctured the ink sac while trying to remove it. But have someone else clean it for you. It's just not worth doing it yourself. There's all these like, the cartilage is, have someone do it for you. We have, of course, cuttlefish. I have about 700 grams here, one ink sac. We have arborio rice. I'm going to use 2 cups. We do not want to wash the rice. The rice will have some starch on the outside, and that starch is going to help make the risotto creamy and give it some like thickness. If you wash the rice beforehand, you're going to lose all that starch, and it's just not going to come out as good. So don't wash the rice. This comes vacuum sealed, so you know it's clean. You don't have to wash it. 1 large onion, diced. 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. Those will be minced. Salt, pepper to taste. Over here, we'll be cooking in olive oil. We have white wine. Any white wine will do, as long as you like it. Like Julia Child says, if it's good enough to drink, it's good enough to cook with. We have Parmesan cheese, and we're going to cook in fish stock. The fish stock I have one left over from when we did the fish soup episode. So if you have some leftovers, just throw it in the freezer. Put it in the freezer, and it'll last for a long, long time. I did a bunch of research on it. All those things online that say it lasts for like 3 to 6 months is just how long it'll last for the best flavor. After that, the flavor starts to diminish, but it's still safe to eat, so whatever you want. If you have it in there for like 20 years, then maybe you don't need it, but if you're in it for like a year, it's frozen. As long as it hasn't defrosted, it's still fine. So the way I'm going to do the risotto is the way I normally make risotto. When we did mushroom risotto, we did the whole stirring continuously method, which I think is ridiculous. So we're not going to do that. And I'll show you a different way that makes risotto come out the exact same as if you stood there the whole time without having to stand there. It's so much easier. Don't let any Italians tell you this isn't risotto. They are wrong. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping everything over here, and then I'll meet you back at the stove. So here we're at the stove. I've already gone ahead and put some olive oil into the pot. Now I'm gonna take the onions and add them in. And I want a low heat because I just want to sweat these onions. We're not trying to brown them. Once the onions are in the pot, just move them around to make sure that they're all on the bottom of the pot and nothing is on the side. Because if it's on the side, then it will burn. We'll take our lid, pop it on top. We'll turn the heat down again. And we want to let the onions sweat for about 10 minutes or until translucent. And once the onions have sweat, we'll go and add the garlic just for a minute so it becomes aromatic. A little stir. And while the garlic is cooking, we'll go and add in all of the cuttlefish. Now we're not going to try to actually brown the cuttlefish, we just want to start the cooking process. And stir the cuttlefish in with the onions. We'll keep the heat on low and cook for about 10 minutes. And the cuttlefish releases a lot of water too.
Yeah, surprising amount.
And you can see that it's starting to cook, whereas the tentacles start to curl up. And now that it's been 10 minutes, the cuttlefish have released a lot of water, and I will start to season, first with salt and pepper. Once you've stirred the seasonings in, if you have a sprig of rosemary, you can throw it in there now, add some rosemary flavor, but if you don't worry about it. I would only do this if you have a sprig, and that way you can easily take it out. If all you have is the dry rosemary, then it'll stay in the risotto, and then that's gonna have a really terrible mouthfeel at the end. So if you don't have a sprig, don't worry about it. I don't have a sprig, so it's all good. After that, we'll add in our rice. This is 2 cups. And we'll give a stir. And what we want to do now is let this cook so that the rice sucks up all of the water that the cuttlefish has released. So this is the part where it's going to start to get a bit controversial. We have 2 cups of rice. I'm going to take just over 1 cup of liquid and just pour it on in. This should just come up to the top of the rice. If you have any pieces that are up on the side of the pan, just push them down into the liquid. And now what we're going to do is just leave it alone. Of course, keep an eye on it, make sure that there's still liquid in the pot, but we're not going to sit here and constantly stir. It's not that important. What we want to do is let this reduce, let the rice soak up the liquid, and then we can give it a stir at the end. We're not putting in all that much liquid right now because we don't want to over liquid the rice. We still want it to have a nice firm al dente risotto texture, but that way, we're doing it this way, we're not standing here and constantly stirring. If you want to do it that way, that's fine too, but I find this way is a lot easier and the result is exactly the same. Like, this is how I grew up making risotto with my mom. It's fine. So we'll let this come up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, and just keep an eye on it, stirring occasionally, not constantly. During the occasional stir, just make sure to push anything off the bottom so it doesn't stick. For about 10 minutes of the risotto cooking, we'll add in a splash of white wine and stir. And so the rice is basically done behind me, and now it's time to make the ink. So here I have the ink sac, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a knife, very carefully puncture the sac, and then remove the ink into this bowl. Boy. If you have gloves, those would be recommended, but I don't, so we're just going for it. Where is... It's a lot more, like, solid than I expected it to be.
Yeah, it's like motor oil.
Yeah. So yeah, really, if you do have gloves, that's probably the best course of action.
Or you can just stick your fingers into the pot of risotto.
So I took a little bit of water, and now we're just going to mix the ink into this water. It's a lot more solid than I anticipated. I wonder if you even heard that. Some guy just started screaming, la 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 la, as I'm trying to make Tony Dijot. How rude. I'll just pour right in and just stir. See, it all starts becoming black. I got a little black and white, but just stir until, you know, everything is a rich black color. You don't want to see any pockets of white. That looks good, right? And there we are. And after mixing in the ink, we'll take off the heat and we'll add some olive oil into here. And this is going to help make it very creamy. Alternatively, you could use butter, but I thought using olive oil would be a nice little spin because it does the same thing as the butter, and we were cooking with olive oil, and this is a Dalmatian recipe where olive oil is used very much. So we'll just let this sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then it's ready to serve. And here we have Tony Dijot. I've also gone ahead and poured myself a glass of the wine. I'm very, very excited to try this. So let's go. There we go. I got a good amount of cuttlefish and the rice with the cheese. I know it's sometimes seen as verboten to have cheese and shellfish, but it's allowed this time. I give you permission. Here we go. Taste for Greg. It does sting your teeth.
Only a little.
Only, like, it goes away. Like, it stains everywhere else, but then everyone knows you've had Tony Dijot. Oh, this is also amazing. Like I said, you don't have to constantly stir the Dijot. It comes out just the same as if you're constantly stirring it. So what's the point? The rice is cooked perfectly. The ink is a nice little, like, salty umami little cuttlefish flavor. And of course the cuttlefish itself is amazing. Like, the big chunks, so you really get a lot of the flavor. And it also adds some texture to it. Like, it's a little, not chewy, but it's firm. Whereas the rice is a little softer, so it complements well. I'm excited to start eating the rest of this. I know Kaylin is. She can eat this week as well. So this was Tony Dijot. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and don't let it down. Tony Dijot is made with cuttlefish, or in Croatian, sipa. It is a cephalopod that looks something like this. Well, not something like this. It looks exactly like what this is going to be.
This is a photograph.
This is a photograph.
Cuttlefish.